So it was around 1987, and I was getting married. And one of my wife's bridesmaids, Steve Simon, he was an AI scientist. And he said, why don't you come down to my place in Silicon Valley called Mad Intelligence Systems. This is 87. Let's talk about how AI can be applied to travel. And here we are in 2023. But it's not quite as clear to everyone as I think it should be. And what we hope to do in this session is we'll talk about different types of AI. So on the screen, you see kind of the types of AI as classified by the industry. Not the travel industry, the technology industry. Reactive AI, limited memory AI, theory of the mind, self-aware. And the thing that I just want to stress to everyone is we're in the first two columns. That's it. As much as there's so much hype around AI, we're not into an AI system that actually thinks. This is still code. Now, that being said, lots of value to what's happening right now, and we'll discuss it with this great panel. So my first question, guys, is, first of all, do you agree with this? You may disagree with this. This is a theoretical, version out there. Do you agree that this is where we're at? Tom, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we're actually in pieces of all of these. I don't think that that it's a phase. I think that we're biting off pieces of this. I think there are, most AI right now is reactive, but there is some element of human learning in it. And one of the big similarities I have between people and AI is they both make stuff up all the time, which is infuriating. So one of the things about AI is we think that the system, the front-end interpretive system that interprets human speech, is the same as the data behind it, but they're separate things. I mean, AI, part of it is interpreting things like a human, part of it is the source of the data. And AI is only as good as the data that it has, and often if it doesn't have the data, it pretends it has it, and what we call hallucinations in the business, and that is not a good thing. So I think we have a long way to go to fill out some of the holes in all four of these columns.
What do you think?
Yeah, I can absolutely agree to it. I mean, for us, we are looking from different angle on it. We are like saying supervised learning is, so one category we believe we are generating like 80% of our value with, and we're looking in GenAI, which is still a small proportion, like maybe 1% or 2% of the value. This is mainly the fields that we are looking in, and I mean, can see it from different categories, obviously. And we do.
So, yeah, I think like every framework, I mean, this has value. I mean, it's a framework after all. So, I believe more or less this is true because reactive and limited memory, that is where we are. I don't see that as compartmentalized as the way you have depicted here, but it's more of a continuum. Yeah, it's just, so if the lines are not drawn very tightly, I think, yeah, I more or less agree with this.
And one of the things that this framework does for me is it immediately puts this question in my mind: what does intelligence even mean in the first place? So.
That's a great question, right? Are we really going to be emulating all the nuances that a human brain can do? That's a challenge. But let's talk about some of the things that are being done today using AI. I do want to say there is a generative AI session a little bit later today, so we'll touch upon it in this session, but this is not only about generative AI. So probably the most used AI that I perceive, well, two, is kind of machine learning and natural language processing. These are the two things that have been around for a while. We see a lot of value to that. Can you talk a little bit about, we have a great, we have an airline tech company, we have an OTA, we have a aggregator.
Whatever you want.
I wasn't going to call you a GDS. I know you don't like that. So we have different perspectives. Can you tell us a little bit about for airlines how you're applying perhaps those two types of AI, machine learning and natural language processing?
So I believe, meanwhile, we find machine learning, supervised learning in almost all domains, like sales, distribution, servicing, operations, all that stuff. since ages, by the way. So it's nothing that started with OpenAI this year or last year whatsoever. We have a specific focus right now on conversational AI, since we've came out the crisis, Corona crisis, really realizing that we need to scale in our customer servicing, and their conversational AI chatbots in specific can add value, and now we are optimizing this. So we introduced the chatbot, and now with the help of GenAI, so we are optimizing this step by step, and I mean, it's mainly driven by our ambition to create value for our customers and the company at the end. You can do a lot, but it also comes with costs. I mean, those models are really taking time and effort to train on, all that stuff. You should be very cautious in terms of return on invest, and this is what we are. But as said, for us currently is customer experience and the servicing field top priority.
Customer service and experience. How about you?
So you want
Go ahead, Sanjay.
So I'll stick to the framework that you showed, and I think it's a natural progression. When you start doing AI, when you start playing with data, what you typically do is the easiest and the first things that people typically do in any e-commerce industry, and we are one of those, you start segmenting. So that is where your journey of AI and data starts. You start segmenting your segmentation of the customers. You build cohorts. You start with a big segment where all customers are alike, and then you have subsets. Your best segment is a segment of one, and which is exactly where you can personalize for the exact person who's doing the shopping or whatever. So that's a natural progression, segmentation, then personalization. What we have done in our industry also is supply-side intelligence and then demand-side intelligence. So on the supply side, similar hotels, for instance, and then you do the ranking and the listing of hotels. Also factoring in the user attributes, the personal preferences, and what the user has been looking at or what he or she has bought or is searching for. So that's the next progression there, where you have more of the supply-side intelligence, and then over a period we have graduated where more of the user preferences are coming in, so you can personalize even more, and that is where I was saying that it's a continuum. You almost try to read the customer's mind, what is the propensity to buy within that session, and therefore you can do all kinds of interesting stuff, the right nudges. And we've done zero cancellation for flights, we've done fare lock, and then also in the past we have done for customer support, we have done a NLP engine, which we had a chatbot, text chatbot called Myra. So we've been on that journey. It's been like quite a few years, almost 7-8 years that we've been on this journey. You slowly graduate and you mature your models. And that's the pre-Gen AI use cases that I'm talking about. We'll come to Gen AI later.
So how has, you mentioned Adam, which I have close to my heart, but I also have questions about, which is this idea of personalization. But let's just say you're doing the segmentation, you're identifying that you're a like traveler and that you have these attributes. How has it changed consumer behavior for your OTA customer?
It's a relevance. I mean, the more you understand the customer, the nudges and the offerings that you give to that customer, that will be more relevant. And therefore, the chances of the offering being looked at and bought, that will be much higher. And personalization, not only during the shopping, but even the drop-offs. When the person drops off your funnel, how do you do targeting and retargeting of the customer offline as well? It has to be relevant from that point onwards. So how do you bring the person back into the funnel again if something has not worked out or if people need more time to research? How do you nudge? And that works, I mean.
So has it improved the look-to-book ratio?
Obviously, yeah. So we do more upsell, cross-sell, getting the person back in the funnel, engaging with the consumer. Personalization certainly helps, because if it's relevant, you'll probably come back and take a look at it.
Right. So Tom, what have you done with these technologies?
Well, if you want to talk about AI versus machine learning, if you read the press, you would come to believe that AI has only existed in travel for like 6 months or something. It all started with Gen AI, and the real question is, when can we fire all of our travel agents? And after that, we'll fire all the engineers, and the only people left are flight attendants. That's the way this industry goes, according to that narrative. I think that's probably little overhyped because we've been using AI in this business for a decade, and just like we've just talked about, there's fundamental things that you do with data now that will automate the process and make it necessary. And I'll give another example in addition to the personalization, a very real one. You cannot, I'm going to make a bold statement. You can't do NDC without AI. If you try to do NDC without AI, you will fail, and you're not doing it right. For example, in NDC, you've got two offers that are very similar with price differences, but one may have a longer servicing time. So you end up building with AI a model that says, how many dollars is a minute of hold time worth? And I literally have built this model because if it's a 20-minute hold time to exchange, time of probability of 20% that you exchange it, but it's $20 cheaper, is that a good deal or not? And how do you, and to use the P word, the personalization, you may care more about hold time than me. Yeah. Actually, I doubt it because I really care about hold time. But the point is you end up building models to start to put financial value on things for your consumers and make decisions accordingly. That's exciting. And I think when we talk about personalization, we talk too much about the special offer, like, oh, you get a Thin Mint on your seat when you board the plane. I mean, that's not what personalization is to me. It's about making it fast and getting them out of the purchase process as quickly as possible so they can end up getting to their destination.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about efficiency is kind of a common theme that we're talking about here. And having been around for the birth of online travel, I think most thought that we were automating the travel process, right? Now we're gonna, but what we really kind of did is we made the traveler, or in the case of business travelers, sometimes the travel assistant, into a travel agent. They had to search, they had to decide. Now it opened up Pandora's box that they were able to see all these choices, so it was positive. But I'm wondering what you all feel about the future of actually automating the process. So I've seen articles by the founder of DeepMinds, or there was actually an article in the New York Times about 3 weeks ago about the coming AI intelligent agents. Not just bots, but actually intelligent agents. And I'll be doing a piece on this next year for Phocuswright, but I'm wondering how you feel about that, because some are very resistant because it's taking away the choice, maybe, of the individual. Others are saying, no, it could simplify. If the recommendations were truly, if you came back with 3 recommendations that really met my needs and simplified the process, maybe that's in the new model. I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Obviously it's a really funny question because I've always said as a data scientist, like what I'd like to do is when you query for a flight or for a hotel room, I want to give you one answer. I want it to be the right answer. Now, if I did that, I would get run out of town on a rail because as a search provider, they want density. So literally when I build search results for flights, I put in the ones I think are good, and I put in a bunch of garbage just to make it look like there's more in there. And that the same thing we did in the telephone industry back when we had mobile phones. We put noise in the background because people felt like they weren't connected unless there was noise. The same thing, we do this in travel. So you can come up with the optimal answer, but human behavior sometimes expects different things. And literally this happens. We put stuff in search results to improve density and diversity of results. That really happens.
It's interesting.
And as a scientist, I hate that, just so you know.
Okay. So what do you all feel about autonomous agents as far as an AI category that's going to emerge and start doing work on our behalf?
I think there are other problems that we need to solve prior to this, but yeah, I see it in a similar way. Yeah? If you have the feeling that actually the AI is not really supporting your needs or your desired actions, like if you call Siri to do something 2 times and not understanding the intent, then you skip it at all. Yeah? You move to a different platform then. And I think this is also a huge risk implied. Yeah. So we better stay in our home turf and we start with the small things and iterate on this.
But isn't it part of this continuum we're talking about?
See, it's not easy
will
to
come,
build
though,
that.
right?
It's intelligent agents. I mean, you're assuming that it will be a super agent that would know everything about the domain to be able to assist a human for shopping or post-sale support. Building that model is not trivial. I mean, GenAI doesn't solve all the problems. I mean, it's a hard problem to solve, and therefore it's a continuum. I don't know how many years it will take to get there. But good thought, I mean, worth building. It's not trivial.
Smart, I'm sorry.
It's not trivial at all. I mean, it's a non-trivial exercise to build a superhuman, super agent.
I wonder, because, I mean, think about what we're replacing today to be, in many travel agents' case, you're talking to a human on a green screen typing into a keyboard like this, and we can't beat that with machines? Come on, man. I think we can improve on that.
Okay. So I found it interesting, Tom, when you mentioned about you can't do NDC without some type of AI. So that is indicating that the complexity of content is starting to drive the need for some type of machine assistant. So whether it's intelligent agents or other types of technology, if we were to have this panel, we may have this panel a year from now in Arizona, would be still talking about what's coming, or will there actually be advancements in the way that AI is assisting people making, whether it's flight or hotel or other selections?
Oh, next year we'll be done. We'll just be laying back going, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, let's go solve some other problems. One other thing I would say about AI, though, is we have a form of AI in travel we've had for a long time called autopilot. I mean, it kind of AI when you think about it. And it's the same model. I mean, it does these simple things, but you can grab control and course correct when you need to. And it works in conjunction with real humans. And this whole hype around one has to beat the other. Like, we watched Terminator too many times. There's too many death battles in this conversation. I think the two technologies are symbiotic and will work together.
See, I mean, again, sticking to the framework and the continuum, where we are with the AI technology today, I think we are just making it easier using GenAI for the consumers to shop and find the relevant information. For instance, generative AI you typically use for analysis or synthesis or for conversations. And we are using, at MakeMyTrip at least, we are using it in all the three cases. We are doing contextual summarization of user reviews and ratings, for instance. People like yourself, I mean, most of the people in this room,
like sentiment analysis.
They are solo travelers on business. I mean, why would you want to see the reviews that are rated, that are done by family people on family vacations? So we are doing that contextual, smart, cohort-based summarization of the reviews that we are putting on the hotel's listing page. Just one line or two lines which will make it easier for you to find the relevant information and so easier to shop. The other part, we are doing similar analysis for holidays also, just tagging it with a theme, what kind of a holiday package and what kind of a destination it is. On conversations, we are actually doing a bunch of things, and especially for a country like India, where English is typically read, written, or comprehended by roughly 15 to 20% of the population can read, write, and comprehend English. That leaves the 80% out of that fray of being able, even if they have the willingness to pay and the desire to travel, they cannot come to any site that is in English and shop. So what we are trying to do on conversations is that we are enabling voice, number one, that you can speak in the language of your choice, and then through Gen AI and through speech-to-text and text-to-speech services, we are just opening up that entire segment of population who can come online and shop. And that is one part about inclusivity. The other part is about accessibility. People who have visual impairments or have trouble navigating a complex app. Travel is a complex domain. We are just making it easy and possible for them to navigate and shop for travel. So I think for a country like India, Gen AI has huge potential, especially when you solve the language issue, because India is peculiar in a way that it has 22 languages recognized by the government, official languages, and every state has a different language more or less. So making it easy for the hinterlands, the tier 3, tier 4 cities to come online and shop for travel, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I would also expect that we will see a lot of productivity use cases still, and you will see the platforms like from OpenAI emerging. I mean, there is literally felt like every week an announcement. Yesterday I read like about they're working on GPT-5 already, and there are really some nice capabilities to come, and text-to-speech, speech-to-text. Also, we believe that this will augment our customer service experience for our agents, but also for our customers. So I think there will be some
So I'm trying to remember the first time we saw a voice interaction demonstration here at Phocuswright, but it's got to be at least 20
years ago at least.
So this has been a promise for such a long time. You know, everyone like myself grew up with Star Trek and computer, do this. When's that going to happen?
What's the most common word most common word spoken to the IVR natural language systems today for airlines? It's agent. That's what people say. Agent, agent, agent. So it still has not gotten to a level of adoption and comfort, but hopefully AI will help improve its ability to emulate.
Well, less around the IVR and more around just the interfaces. You know, you're neutralizing the language barriers by using this,
But you're replacing agents on the line with a machine that wants to talk to that.
But isn't it putting a voice in front of generative AI that really is enabling this, or am I misunderstanding it?
You're definitely putting voice in front of a generative AI, but the whole promise of Gen AI is that it does much better with unstructured content, right?
Yes.
And it's a free-flowing content, it's a conversational flow. Putting voice on top of that makes sense. Because the underlying engine that just does text and conversations, that's much smarter today.
By the way, Tom, anytime I talk to a healthcare provider, you hear me yell agent a lot, so I can relate.
It's very common.
What's your feeling about voice? Do you think voice is going to emerge
Yeah, for us,
near term, or it's still
for us
still
in our
ways?
micro world, it's similar requirements. Huh? So we have translation cases, we have conversational cases, of course, maybe also some multimodal cases in the future. We will see.
Okay.
I do think that we talk to, like, there's two use cases. One is the system talks to you like a human.
Yeah.
The second is they get the right answer. And it's not the first that's the most important. I mean, I don't really care whether it talks to me like a human, but I do care whether the answer is correct. And I do care that it's correctly interpreting my intent. And really, so that data behind the system is really important and so often overlooked.
Well, I remember my first interaction with Siri was, book me a flight, and they said, here's a bunch of books on flights. No, thank you. So I guess as we close out, I'd like to see if we can give some practical advice to the audience. So, it's difficult because it's the Googles or the OpenAIs of the world that get the best AI scientists, not OTAs, not GDS aggregators, not airline technology necessarily. So everyone's looking at this and they're trying to say, well, how do I apply this to my business? What would you say to say the airline industry on where they should be focusing their AI efforts?
So basically, I mean, the big advantage of GenAI, again, is a low barrier.
Yeah.
So you can easily play around with it, ideate with it. I would recommend doing it. Also with, we're giving this to our product teams. And this is not only a tech topic, it's also, let's say, a business topic.
Yeah.
I would continue working on this to recommend.
Okay.
However, I think there is some heavy lifting still to be solved in the...
It's the data, as we've been saying. If the data is not there, no matter what the interface is, you're not going to get the right answers. How about from an OTA perspective?
OTAs, my perspective is that OTAs are technology companies. That's what we do. So again, data has to be there, but Gen AI, as you said, makes it easier. It just raises the bar. Yeah.
Tom, you get the last word.
Make sure we think about consumer privacy and consumer experience. That's the last thing I would say. There's lots of cool things we could do, but AI is very thirsty for data. It drinks a lot, and we want to make sure that data that gets consumed by it is consumed in a protected format, because we are dealing with sensitive information. We're not selling shoes. I don't tell you what your shoe size is. We got passport information, all kinds of data, so we have a fiduciary responsibility to protect that information.
Well, I want to thank you all for a great conversation and thank the audience for their attention.